This is Corbin Smith with the Seahawks Wire here for our latest film breakdown on Seahawks first-round pick Rashaad Penny, the explosive running back out of San Diego State. Rushed for over 2,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, and finished fifth in Heisman balloting last year for the Aztecs. Many draft pundits were surprised the Seahawks went with Penny at the 27th overall selection. A lot of scouts looked at him as a second to third round grade talent. I personally had him as a late first-round grade. Running backs haven't been going in the first round, though, so I envisioned he'd be available in the second round. Seattle decided to take him at 27th overall for a number of reasons. One, he's coming from a pro-style offense at San Diego State, where he's ran a lot under center behind the fullback. This familiarity should help him adjust to Seattle's offense under Brian Schottenheimer. Secondly, the Seahawks didn't have a second or third round draft choice coming into the draft. They did pick up a third by trading down from 18th overall, but they still wouldn't have gotten Penny if they waited till the third round. He was going to get picked by somebody else. And as you're seeing on these most recent clips here, he's not just a running back. He's a guy that could come in and return kicks, take some of that load off Tyler Lockett. He had 7 kickoffs returned for touchdowns. He also returned a punt last year, as we're seeing here against Nevada. Just a dynamic football player all the way around. What makes Rashaad Penny worth a first-round pick for the Seattle Seahawks? He's not the fastest running back in the country. He did run a 4.46 40 at the NFL Scouting Combine, but he's not the most dynamic runner you're going to see speed-wise. That said, he has great vision, and he's a home run threat every single time he touches the football. Here against Arizona State, better competition than he faced in the Mountain West, he busts through for a 90-plus yard touchdown. He's a patient runner that does an outstanding job reading his blocks, especially with the fullback in front of him. Once again, this comfort playing in the I formation and a pro-style offense had to be appealing to the Seahawks. Here he follows his fullback and then runs inside of his kick-out block and then darts 49 yards for the touchdown. At times, Penny's tape can be difficult to evaluate because San Diego State did such a good job creating holes for him to run through. In a heavy formation with a fullback and 2 tight ends, Penny's going to follow his fullback's block, and look at the size of this hole. You could drive a pickup truck through that. Not a lot you can grade him on with this one, but you do see the acceleration that's going to work at the NFL level. While those last couple of runs might make it look like Penny had an easy job, don't let that fool you. He had plenty of plays where he created yardage for himself on these explosive runs. Here on a draw against Army, watch him make the linebacker whiff in space. Once he gets past the linebacker, it's game over. Nobody else on the Black Knights defense can catch up with him. 81 yards for the touchdown. And then one of my favorite examples of a long touchdown run for Penny. This is against Air Force, who actually bottled him up for most of the game. This run play is initially going to be muddied up. The Falcons did a nice job winning at the line of scrimmage and maintaining gap integrity, but Penny is patient. He sees a cutback lane, breaks through an arm tackle at the line of scrimmage, then bolts outside, eventually finding pay dirt for a big touchdown. Penny is a home run threat and electric in open field, but he's also a powerful running back. With his 5'11", 220-pound frame, he's very difficult to tackle in space and more than capable of bowling over opponents when he wants to. Here against UNLV, he sets up the corner, trucks him, bolts for a 25-yard pickup. Penny isn't a clone of Marshawn Lynch. He's not known for trucking guys, but he will do it when he needs to. You better bring your hard hat when you're trying to tackle him, especially when running power, something San Diego State did a lot. Penny gets the handoff up the gut, bounces off the initial tackling attempt, then drives 3 more tacklers for extra yardage. When it comes to running with power, this is how Penny does it. Most of the time, he drags defenders. He's not going to bowl people over, but he's got a very powerful lower body, and when he gets his legs driving, he's extremely difficult to get to the ground, and typically you have to have multiple tacklers to get him there. And this is another great example against Stanford. He cuts back against the grain on the pitch, drags multiple Cardinal with him. As we saw earlier, Penny absolutely torched Army, and most of the time he was going untouched for touchdown runs, but he also took the Black Knights for a bus ride without charging admission. Penny takes the handoff up the middle, cuts back off of a down block, multiple tacklers trying to bring him down, but he just keeps chopping his feet, takes a swarm of black jerseys to get him down. Saving my favorite Penny play for last during this segment, against the Hawaii Warriors, have to feel for this poor linebacker. Coming across the formation, Penny cuts back, linebacker grabs onto his undershirt and then gets dragged across the turf for several yards before Penny breaks the tackle, picks up a big gain. Penny can go the distance anytime he touches the football, and he's also capable of powering through defenders, as we've seen with earlier clips. But what gives him the best chance to be successful in Seattle, where the Seahawks offensive lines really struggled? His vision and his patience. After letting the double team set up in front of him, he immediately identifies a cutback and picks up the first down. There's so much to love about Rashaad Penny and how he runs the football, but his patience and vision certainly is his best attribute. He lets blocks set up in front of him, he allows those blocks to formulate, and then he can quickly anticipate cutback lanes like he did here. He makes a quick cut on a dime and moves the chains once again. Something that you see a lot of young running backs struggle with. A lot of times they try to freelance, they try to do their own thing. Rashaad Penny doesn't do that very much. He occasionally has an issue with bouncing outside too much. He's not going to be able to do that as much at the NFL level, but he does a great job following his blockers, staying tight until he sees running room, and then decisively makes cuts off those blocks. When I look at Penny's fit in Seattle, this is a run that really stood out to me. Boise State did a great job shutting him down most of this game, but this shows the ability and the instincts that Penny plays with. He was running for the B gap. He pressed the hole until the safety had flown down to the line of scrimmage. Once he gets sucked in, Penny then cuts outside. Nobody's there and contained. Touchdown. Looking at one last play that shows the outstanding vision and anticipation Rashaad Penny plays with against Stanford. He's going to be running this one to the left. He presses the hole as long as he can. With his blocks developing and the defense flowing to the play side, he cuts back and look at the wiggle to get through that narrow running lane and pick up a first down. Penny's calling card is running the football, as he rushed for over 2,200 yards last year. Being a first-round pick for the Seahawks, however, he's going to have to prove he can be an every-down back capable of handling pass protection and receiving duties. The biggest knock on Penny coming out of college was his inexperience and poor performance in pass protection. San Diego State rarely kept him into block, and you can tell he needs coached up technique-wise. Here he identifies the blitzer late, he gets on his heels, gets drove backwards. I'll at least commend him for the effort. He tried to stick with the block and then went out as a receiver. He's just not technically sound in this part of his game. Going against Boise State, I think he's got to work on keeping his feet buzzing. He gets flat-footed. Here he just tries to throw a shoulder at a defensive end coming untouched off the line of the scrimmage. That is never going to fly in the NFL. You got to keep your feet moving, got to throw your hands into the defender's chest to have a fighting chance. The good news for Seahawks fans, even though he didn't catch a lot of passes in college, Penny took advantage of those minimal opportunities and showed that he's also a threat instantly after the catch anywhere on the field. On this play, he's a safety valve. Under pressure, Chapman gets the ball out to Penny. He turns upfield, and then he puts the defender on skates before he finds the end zone. As a whole, the Aztecs didn't pass the football very much, so it's not much of a surprise that Penny didn't catch very many passes at San Diego State. Here he's running a Texas route or an angle route out of the backfield. He's going to immediately make the catch and turn upfield, pick up several yards after the catch, again showing his versatility. Along with catching a few passes out of the backfield, San Diego State also on rare occasions allowed Penny to play as a wing. Lined up on the right wing this time, he runs a wheel route. I'm not sure what Northern Illinois was doing, but they let him go by the secondary completely untouched. Chapman finds him with a dart for a touchdown. Though he didn't do this very often for San Diego State, this should be something that excites the Seahawks. They've tried to use running backs like CJ Prosise out as wide receivers. He's been hurt too much, so maybe Penny can fill that void. To wrap up this breakdown, I want to show my favorite play from Rashaad Penny's college highlight film. He's stacked behind a wide receiver here, running a shallow cross across the middle of the field. For anyone questioning Penny's receiving ability, check out this Odell Beckham Jr. catch. Highlight reel catches like this one indicate Penny will be far more than a two-down running back and an absolute steal at 27th overall for Seattle.